Welcome to another class, and today we'll be talking about prompt engineering. And to understand prompt engineering, it is very simple. So prompt engineering is basically the set of instructions that you give to an artificial intelligence to perform like a specific task for you. So when you send like that voice note, or you send that like text to Gemini or Claude Code or ChatGPT, that's what they call prompting. So but prompt engineering is the act of knowing how to prompt those AI properly. And the question is, why prompt engineering? So because of the way like software development has changed or is changing, where we now use prompts to do most of our coding, right, or a lot of our coding, you need to be able to tell the AI what to do in a very appropriate and efficient manner. And that is why prompt engineering is very important. And before we write any line of code, you notice that we've not written any line of code since. And it is important for us to understand prompt engineering, because the first line of code that we will be writing, which is the next class, would involve prompt engineering. So if we skip this class, it will be very hard for us to understand, or not hard, but it will be prone to a lot of mistakes when we're writing prompts. And why do we need prompt engineering? The first thing is that these AI tools, that's this ChatGPT and Gemini and the like, they are not magicians, they are not genies. You need to be able to tell them what you want in the most concise and precise manner. That means you need to be straight to the point. They need to understand what you want. You cannot just tell an AI to build you an app. That doesn't work. Why? Because to tell the AI to just build you an app is, what type of app do you want to build? How is the app supposed to function? What's the look and feel, what is called the UI UX of the app? Like, how is the user experience? How is the user interface? Is it going to be a mobile app or a web app? You see, those questions are the things you need to answer before you even write a single line of code, or before you prompt the AI actually. And there are something they call principles in where principles when you're developing, when you're prompting rather. And the first principles are, and the first one that I follow is planning. And make sure that I plan before I write any single line of code. I'm opening my notepad on my laptop and I'm planning on my phone. I'm planning, okay, how do I want the product to look like? Let's say, for example, I want to build Call of Duty. Let's just assume I want to be Call of Duty. The first thing I want to understand, okay, it's a shooter game, right? And it's a military game, and there has to be like, there's a lot of shooting, a lot of blood, a lot of blah 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 like that. And what's going to be the name? Could the name going to be COD? And is it going to be on the mobile phone or on the web? I think it's best to be on a mobile phone. How is it going to work? Is there going to be multiplayer? You see the way I'm going through those things and I'm planning it. So before I even write any single line of prompt, I first write down my thoughts, how I want it to be, what I want it to look, the name, the images, stuff like that. And even if they're external materials like images or pictures or videos that kind of speaks to that particular solution. So the next thing after prompt engineering is you need to be after like planning is, you need to be clear and direct. Avoid long stories. Just go, I want the color to be beige or red or black or brown, or I want the mix of this color, or I want it to have like this aesthetic look. You understand? So the more clear you are, the easier it is for the AI to get exactly what you want. But the more ambiguous it is, the harder it is for the AI to actually like be specific. So the more concise and clear you are, the easier it is for the AI. Know what you want. So answer these questions: what, why, how. What is, who is it, what is this thing, what is the name, what is it going to look like, how is it going to work, and why am I building it? So, and also they say like, okay, who is it for? Do you understand? That's like what platform is it going to be like? So make sure you ask like a lot of what questions, and a lot of how, like functionality questions, and a lot of why, like what are the things, like why do I have to build this thing? So at least that's like the most basic thing. And I think the third principle would be training your prompt. So the things that, like, let's say for example you want to build a full-fledged app like Instagram. You definitely know that you cannot in one prompt build the whole Instagram. It's not possible. Why? Because there are so many nuances. Let's say for example there's the like, the share, the messaging inside this, there is the stories. So the AI, you need to keep giving the AI more prompts so I can understand things to add, features to add to it. Even Instagram itself was, the Instagram we have today was not built like that originally. So when I talk about training your prompts, what I mean is that at first you tell the AI what you want to build, you've done most of the thing, the what, the why, the how. Then once the AI does that, you need to now follow up with more prompts. Okay, I want you to add this feature. Then let's add that particular feature. But don't try and bundle 4 or 5 features at the same time. Maximum 2 features. Do you understand? And it is properly explained. So that's what they call, I think, training like prompts. And I think the next thing is context. Oh my God. To me, context is the most important out of all these things. Context. Even though you're not precise, I'm not saying you should not be, you need to be, but even though you're not precise, context. If you tell that, yeah, you know what, I want to build an Instagram clone, or have to be an app that works like Instagram, the AI has more context to work with. Like it knows, okay, this is what you're trying. It knows what Instagram is. You know what, especially when the app is popular. So context is a very, 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 very important thing. So if you know that there's context, okay, if not the game or the tool or the website, it has some things that it already exists. So it's best for you to give AI context at that part, and it will really, really help the artificial intelligence to be more precise. And I think the last one is role-based messaging. So what is role-based? Role-based is basically where you tell the AI to act like someone. So let's say, for example, I want to do an AI that generates pictures of paintings rather. I build an AI that once you tell it to paint a particular a particular picture or a particular art, it's going to do it. But I can tell the AI, you know what, if I want to make my own painting to be specific, I want to make it like Picasso. Picasso is a painter, but things are Picasso and Da Vinci, they are two different they paint two different types of style. So if I tell the AI, you know what, so when anybody selects Picasso style, what I'm trying to do on the back is that I'm telling the AI, you know what, anytime somebody selects this option, act as if you are Picasso when you are painting. So the AI already has, there's a little bit of context there, and the role base is like, okay, the AI is actually like Picasso. So if I tell the AI acts like a particular person, it has more context, and it does not just affect painting, it even affects security. For example, I am just a prompt engineer, I'm not an expert in security, but you know what, if I tell the AI that AI, I build the application finished, but I need to ensure that this application is safe from hacking and stuff like that. I say, okay, you know what, AI, act as a security expert, a senior security expert at Google. Review all my code and let me see any loopholes that hackers can use to get access to this application. You'll be surprised at how much you can get from that. And it does not work for only security, it works for design, it works for even functionality. If you want the particular if you want your code to be to meet a particular standard, just like I say, you know what, based on maybe ISO 125 blah 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 number, is my code going to meet this requirement? The AI would go through, especially if you have like what are the requirements for, you can even attach it to the prompt. The AI will go through and say, okay, your code doesn't meet this requirement, your code doesn't, and it starts showing you like the loopholes there. So that's what I mean. So when I mean role based, so you need to be, so all these principles, which is context, role based, to be precise and planning, these 4 things are very, very important when you're building when you're doing prompt engineering. I think now I want to go into context engineering. I think I talked about context in the previous principles, but context engineering is very, very important. Like I said earlier, once you have context, once you have context rather, it is easier for you to prompt more with the AI. So to me, when I'm writing, these are my own personal strategies. When I'm writing out an AI, I have 3 context layers: what, why, and how, like we talked earlier. So the business context kind of covers okay, I want to build a restaurant hub that allows restaurants to be able to issue tickets when customers come to buy food from them. So that business, it covers the business layer of how the hub should work. So I'm telling the AI that, you know what, the first thing I want to get is the business layer, then there's the design layer, and there's the engineering layer. So these 3 layers are the ones that I use personally. Business layer that describes the business, design layer that describes the UI and the UX of the business, and the third one is the engineering layer that covers mostly the engineering aspects of the application. So let me give you an example of what the business layer is. Like I said earlier, if you want to be, I want to be like an app that allows restaurants to be able to to be able to issue tickets when the customers come in and buy food. So now I already describe it from a business perspective how the app should work. Now, and I go further down, that's the business layer. The second layer is the design layer, is how do I want it to function? Okay, is it going to function on a tablet or on a desktop? That's on a physical desktop or a laptop or stuff like that. That's now I'm going to the design layer. So design layer covers the UI and the UX. That's the user experience and the user interface. Experience is the kind of experience your customers get or the person using the application. So now the experience is like, okay, is it going to be on web or is it going to be on mobile? If it's on the mobile phone, it's going to be totally different. If it's on the web, it's going to be totally different. Because the mobile phone screen is smaller and a laptop phone is screen is bigger. Do you understand? So is it going to be an app or is it going to be a website? So all these things are when the design layer comes in. What kind of color is it going to be like? What kind of animations or functions? When I click a button, what should it bring out? How should the receipt be printed and stuff like that? So that one covers the design layer. So the engineering layer, which is the third one, it covers the engineering aspect of the application. Okay, what I mean by the engineering aspect of the application is what kind of app they want to be. They want it to be in React or React Native. They want it to be in what kind of backend do I want to use? What kind of servers do I want to use? What kind of languages do I want to use when I'm building this application? What kind of languages am I comfortable with? So those three layers, the business layer / project layer, because it does not always have to be a business, it could be like just a technical project. The third one and the second one is the design layer, which covers both the UI and the UX. And the third one is the engineering layer. So those are the three layers that I use when I am building, when I'm doing prompt engineering. So there's something they call good and bad prompt. Good prompt versus bad prompt. Good prompt is most of those things I've talked about, right? Adding context, adding rules, using examples, being precise, telling the AI, like planning before you even write any prompt at all. But a bad prompt is when you just tell the AI, build me this, build me that, build me this. Yeah, the AI is going to come up with something very nice because these AIs are being trained to, to understand like more and more context. But because we're in the early days, the more precise you are with these things, the better it is for the AI to generate very, very great design, very, very great mobile applications with little errors. Yeah, I think that's basically it. And yeah, I think the fourth thing on my notes here is iteration. So development never ends. Honestly, most of the applications you use today, you always say they will say update your application, update your application. That means development never ends. So there was prompt engineering too as well. So as you keep like adding more prompts, it is so yeah, that means more ideas keep coming up, more features keep coming up. You just keep like adding more prompts and prompts. So iteration is just like you going and you see the prompt, it works, you just want to add more features, want to change the design, change one place or the other, and stuff like that. So there are some things I would like to make mention of, although we'll take it in a later class. It is more advanced, but I'd like to make mention of it just in case like you've seen it on the internet and you feel like, oh, we didn't talk about it in this prompt engineering class. We're supposed to talk about like security. So when you're doing prompt engineering, like how should do security work? We're supposed to talk about authentication, API security, performance, and data validations, all those things. But we'll talk about them in further down the line, because I want us to quickly get into prompting. We start building something, but these introduction classes are very, very important before we start building. So that way we can have that basic foundation. So as we're growing, we grow together. But I'd like to make mention of one of them. I think about security auditing. So there's something called keys, API keys, right? You're not supposed to just put your API keys on the charts. Yeah, some AI might ask for it, but you can always tell the AI to tell you where the API keys are and you put it by yourself. I don't know, maybe because of security reasons, right? But I just wanted to make mention of that. And there's something called customizing your agents or context. Like we talked about context, I told you context is king when it comes to prompting. Context is king. So there's something called a context bank. Right, so context banks are, I have a private context bank, some people have public context bank. Do you understand? So context bank is basically where you store content, so context. So you already have a way you build your application, so you've already stored it somewhere. So when you want to build a particular part of the applications, you already know what kind of context to use, what structure to use. So as you are building, start having a context bank, like how you approach when you want to build a e-commerce application, when you want to build a game. What kind of questions do you have checklists, what kind of context questions do you ask yourself before building. So now you're going to be, so after this class, I'm building your first application, do you understand? try having more context. So that way, before you even start building an application, you already have like a series of questions you ask yourself. So that way, you've already written those down. So as the more you grow your prompt engineering or your vibe coding, do you understand? The more you start having like be growing your context bank and you to becoming stronger when it comes to context engineering. And there's also context bank in the context of like there's something called agents.md, claude.md. MD just that .md means markdown file. It's just like a series of instructions that tells the AI things I don't want you to do, things that I don't want you to do. So and things I want you to do, how I approach my own development, because each and every one of us, we have like our own style of doing things, right? So because you're learning like vibe coding from me does not mean that you're going to vibe code with my own style. So as time goes on, you would start to develop your own different styles. So that's what it's going to be like in your agents.md file or claude.md file or whatever .md file you have. Do you understand? So those things are just like the way you approach your own vibe coding, the way you approach your own building and your own systems. It contains, so the .md file contains the do's and don'ts of what you personally prefer. So that's basically it when it comes to. I just want to make mention of it. Don't worry if you don't understand it. We are going to definitely talk about it in a more future class. But it's very important I bring it up now. So one of the things I was trying to talk about is that I want to mention as well is MCP. It's called Model Context Protocol. It's very similar to like that MD file is all about. It's just like the series of do's and don'ts you do, or your own style, or things you don't want AI to do on a particular project or like on your own overall project. So that's how I should mention that. And finally, I think the last thing that we are supposed to talk about is AI hallucination. In simple terms, AI hallucination just means that the AI can make mistakes, like really terrible mistakes. So that is why you need your context right. You need to get everything precise. And sometimes even though you don't do those things, AI can still make mistakes. Why? Sometimes the AI, we're seeing the early stage of AI, so all these things happen. And a second reason is when you don't prompt it properly, right? That's why it's called prompt engineering. So there's an engineering part of being precise, being articulated to prompting. And the third one is, some people don't know, like you have tokens, your tokens might finish. So when your token finishes, it goes like a more not so advanced model. And those ones maybe I don't understand, like cannot carry like the full context of the things that they're trying to do, so can make it hallucinate. And I think that was basically everything. I'm going to show us an example of an AI hallucination. So you have context to how like AI hallucination works. And while I'm trying to get that done, I think just give me a minute. But like on my final notes, so I wrote down like a final notes, and I would just like to share with us, which is let me just reiterate the tricks that we talked about. Always be precise, concise, iteration, context. Context is king. Context is king. Role based. Make sure like okay, you always add role to the thing if it's wherever is necessary, and yeah. I think that's basically it. And planning. So before you even write like a code on prompt or on Lovable or Cursor or Claude code, stuff like that. Make sure you go to like ChatGPT or Gemini to refine it. Ask questions, things you don't understand. Make sure that you properly understand the prompt before you go and paste it into like Codex or Claude code or Cursor and the likes. So we'll be doing an experiment now on how AI hallucinates. So we'll do an experiment on how AI hallucinates. And I just want to read out my notes here. Like I said, communication is key, and the more context you provide, the better output. So that's just like my final words here. The more context you provide, like the better the output you get from an AI. So I'll show you an example of how AI hallucinates. So this is I in Gemini. So I think this thing still works for even if you can try it on your own ChatGPT too as well. Okay, so let's do this. Hi Gemini, and so we're going to ask it a prompt. So I'm going to use a voice prompt. So like I said earlier, prompts can be text, voice, yeah. So I'm going to use a prompt, and I'm waiting for Gemini to load up. Once it loads up, yeah, so we're going to prompt it. So yeah, let's see. Sorry, so it was taking my words before. Hi Gemini.
Hello, how can I help you today?
So I need to go and wash my car, right? But the thing is that from the car wash to my house is just about 5 meters. So should I trek there or should I go with my car?
5 meters is really close, barely a stone's throw. It would probably be much easier to just trek there. Going with your car might not even be worth the trouble for such a short distance. Plus, it's a little bit of a quick walk.
Okay, good. So how do I wash my car if I trek it?
I see. If you trek to the car wash, you typically drop off your car there and then walk home. Once your car is clean, you would go back to pick it up. Does that make sense?
No, if I trek to the car wash, like somebody's my car still needs to be washed. I can't trek there without my car. So how does my car get there?
Oh, I understand.
Oh, don't bring me there,
Now, you're right. Your car does need to get there somehow. For such a short distance, driving would probably be the most convenient way, even if it's a very short drive.
Yeah, thank you, bye.
You're welcome. Is there anything else I can assist you with, Peta?
So that's an example of like how like hallucination works. So see, most important thing is context. You see, when I try to explain to you that okay, you've made a mistake, right? So how do I do this? So that's an example of what context engineering is. So in whatever you're doing, make sure you have context and be there. AI can make mistakes. Like you just saw, AI can make mistakes. So have a good one. I'll see you in the next class. And the next class we're building. I think the first thing